Okay, yes.
After we finish taking these, I can get a drink.
Yeah, just a second. Okay, we are on 58. Guys, listen up, please. 58. So now we are going to solve quadratic equations, and we're going to look at it a little different way. We are still solving by factoring. So your directions will say, solve by factoring, which means you need to factor, not use the square root method. If it doesn't tell you specifically to use factoring, if it just says solve, you can choose any method you want to. We're going to talk more about that next week. But today, I just want to practice solving by factoring. So then next week, when we get to where we're combining them all, whichever way you choose, you're confident in knowing how to do that. Just take your headphones out for me, please. Thank you. Okay, as I look at this one, if I look at solving by factoring, there's a couple different examples on this section. If I look at this example, some of them are already going to be factored for you. So if I look at one like this, there's a couple on the homework that are going to look like this. And this is just going to get us ready for what we do next. You know how to do this. This is already factored. This is written as a binomial times a binomial. If it's already factored, all you do to solve this is take each part, each factor, and set it equal to 0. So we are going to take 7x plus 1 equal to 0 and x minus 5 equal to 0. If they're already factored, if they're already written as multiplication, that's easy to do. Now solve each of these equations. Minus 1, 7x equals negative 1. Divide by 7, x is equal to negative 1/7. And then the next one, add 5, so x is equal to 5. So if they're already factored like this, written as something times something, all you do is take each part, set them equal to 0, and you have two really simple equations to solve. So some of them on the homework will already be factored for you, and you just go through and set each part equal to 0. Okay. What we're going to start looking at is how do I factor trinomials. So we talked about how do I factor out the GCF and then set each part equal to 0. How do I factor out a perfect square, which we just did. A plus 6, a minus 6, set it equal. Now we're going to look at how do I solve by factoring if I have trinomials. So if I have a trinomial like this, let's say I have one like this. A squared minus 3a minus 4 equals 0. Let's say I give you this quadratic equation and I tell you to solve this. First of all, can I do the square root method on this one? No. Why can I not do the square root method on this one? Why not? The 3a. There is a single a. There is an a to the first power. I cannot do the square root, so you have to be able to factor it. Or I'll tell you other ways over the next couple days. To factor, it needs to be equal to 0. What you're going to do today is going to be equal. They're going to be equal to 0. Next week we'll look at ones that aren't equal to 0. It's already equal to 0. So now I need to try to factor the left side. This is a trinomial with a 1 in front. So what shortcut can I take if it is a trinomial with a 1 in front? No. It's the short way. Nope. You could, but I'm not really sure why you would waste a couple minutes.
It doesn't take me a couple minutes.
Here, flip to page 52. If there's a 1 in front, here's the shortcut. We talked about this last week. If there is a 1 in front, like this one, there was a 1 in front, so I split it into my two parentheses and put m in front. So that's how you do it. If it is a trinomial with a no number, which means there's a 1 in front of m squared, you can do it this way. Use the shortcut. It will make your life easier. So how would I start with this if it's a trinomial with a 1 in front? Parentheses A. What else? Nope, I literally just showed you. Let me show you again, because some of you weren't paying attention. Right here. M squared plus 7m plus 10. I can start, since there's a 1 in front, I can start with two parentheses with the variable in front. So how can I start this one?
2 A's in the front. That'd be a plus 1 minus 4.
Okay, so you can start it like this. If it is a trinomial with a 1 in front, we can start it with 2 parentheses with a in front. So use that shortcut. It will save you time. If you don't, I'm not going to count off, but you're just going to take 2 or 3 extra minutes. Plus, you're going to leave more room for error, more room for little mistakes. How do I find the numbers that go in here?
They got to multiply to get negative 4, add to get negative 3.
So 2 numbers that multiply to give me negative 4 and add to give me negative 3.
4 positive 1.
Okay, negative 4 and positive 1. So if it is a trinomial with no number in front, which means there's a 1 there, put 2 parentheses with a's in front, and then 2 numbers that multiply to get the last and add to get the middle, which in this case is negative 4 and 1. This is not solved, this is just factored. So now take each part, a minus 4 equals 0, a plus 1 equals 0, and solve that equation. Add 4, a equals what? 4. Minus 1, a equals negative 1. So factor it like we did last unit, and then set each part equal to 0. Okay, any questions on that one? Okay. What if I have 1? Let's go ahead, let me do this next section real quick, and then that's the way you'll have time to do the rest of the questions. Let's do one like, let me look at the next section with you. What if I have one like this? So if I look at the next section, 59. Aaron, stay with me, please. Let's look at a couple of these. So what if I want to solve, and your directions will say solve by factoring. So make sure you actually factor. Yep.
59?
Yep, this is 59. We're just going to look at a couple of these because it's basically the same thing. Okay, if I have something like this example, x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. I need to factor this. So what we're starting with today is going to be pretty simple. Already set equal to 0. Should be not terribly hard to try to factor it. Next week we'll get progressively harder. I need to factor this left side. How do I get started factoring this left side? Do what? 2 parentheses. What goes in the front? X's. Use the shortcut. If there's no number in front of x squared, which means there's a 1 there, start with 2 parentheses, put your x's in front. How do I find the numbers that go with it, with the x's? 2 numbers that multiply to get me negative 15 and add to give me negative 2.
Okay, negative 5 and positive.
Negative 5 and positive 3. Like I said, you guys can factor well. You guys did really well on that homework. So this should not be really anything more difficult. You're just going to factor, take each factor, x minus 5 equal to 0, x plus 3 equal to 0, and then solve 2 simple equations. Plus 5, x equals 5, minus 3, x equals negative 3. So quadratics, we should have 2 answers. Okay, any questions on those? Okay, let's look at another one. Let's look at example 2. It's going to be the same idea. Okay, example 2, let's look at one like this. What if I have 5x squared plus 26x plus 5 equals 0, and I want to factor this? It's already set equal to 0. What we're going to do today will already be set equal to 0. You won't have to worry about moving things around today. Already set equal to 0. I need to factor. So as I look at my left side, I always try to factor out a what first? GCF. Is there a GCF for 5, 26, and 5? No. So now I look and I need to try to factor this. How would I try to factor this? It's a trinomial. Tell me how I would start trying to factor this. Yep. There's a number in front. Since there's a number in front, we can't do it like the one we just did where we start with 2 parentheses. we have to take the first times the last. So 5 times 5, 25. So I need to find, so multiply the first and the last, two numbers that multiply to give me 25 and add to give me, so multiply to give me 25 and add to give me what? 26. They are both positive, so both my numbers will be positive. 25 and 1. They multiply to give me 25. They add to give me 26. So I'm going through the 4 steps, and then I'll set it equal to 0 once I have it factored. The third step, what do I do with 25 and 1? Plug it in where? To the x. So instead of 26x, I'm going to put 25x plus 5. So I'm replacing 26x with 25x and 1x. Now, this is not solved yet. I do not know what x equals. We are just working on factoring the left side. If I factor the left side, how do I continue factoring the left side? There's 4 terms. Group. So if I group my first 2 together, how do I factor something out of 5x squared and 25x? What is it? 5x. So I take out a 5x. I have a what left? Yep. Now if I group my last 2 together, I want them to be the same. I already have an x plus 5, so what do I factor out that will keep it at x plus 5? 1. So I'm going to factor out a positive 1, which will keep it x plus 5. This is not factored yet, so we can't set each part equal to 0 until it's factored. What will my final factored form look like for this?
X plus 5.
Yep.
5x plus 1.
Yep. So x plus 5 times 5x plus 1 equals 0. Is this solved? No, it is factored. It is not solved because I do not have x equal to something. So now I'm going to take each part and set it equal to 0. X plus 5 equal to 0. 5x plus 1 equal to 0. And we have 2 simple equations that you know how to solve. I need to see this sort of work on your paper. Minus 5, x equals negative 5 is one answer. How do I solve this other equation?
5.
No? Minus 1 first. Yep.
Negative 1/5.
Okay, yep. 0 minus 1, 5x equals negative 1. Divide by 5.
Negative 1/5.
Yep, so x equals negative 1/5. Those are my 2 answers. So, you guys have done pretty well with factoring, so I'm not worried about that part of it. The only thing that's different is you take your 2 parenthesis parts and set them equal to 0, and you have 2 simple equations to solve. Okay, any questions? Yeah, we're done with the notes. You can go ahead and do the rest of the packet. So you have about 25 minutes. You should be able to get most of the rest of the packet done. Make sure you use your time, please.
Can I go get that drink, Mr. Payne?
Yeah, forgot.